Yeah, really appreciate most is both the connection with the elements and the life here and how that interweaves with the human connection of the people I'm with. And this trip was definitely a sweet example of that.
Welcome to the Paddle Portage podcast. It's May, and though further south, spring has sprung a long time ago, my hometown of La Crosse, Wisconsin looks well into summer in some ways. The Twin Cities bursting with foliage and bloom. Here in the Arrowhead region, the Boundary Waters, ice is still melting off the lakes. And that means fishing opener trip, the open water season.
The great fishing opener has come and gone this year, 2026, in the Boundary Waters. We were there, day one, the morning of the opener, paddling into the wilderness.
We met at a friend's house on the Gunflint Trail, piled into 2 cars, 3 canoes, and headed for our entry point. It was a calm morning, but the wind was picking up. The temperature hung low.
38 degrees, 40 degrees.
Tops as it slipped out of the early morning. The forecast was not terrible. No rain, thankfully, but highs not to exceed the mid-40s at the warmest part of the day.
20s at night.
At the entry point, as we were unloading our canoes and gear, another truck pulled up. 2 other good friends, hoping to get in on the fishing action. We all took turns getting in the water, carefully taking stock of the frigid and dangerous cold that made up the landscape, the waterscape beneath us.
As we traveled deeper into the wilderness, 4 or 5 portages deep, and had hit only water at that point. Snow on the portages as we worked our way south. And as we neared our campsite that we had pre-selected and were excited to get to set up an operation before we started fishing, suddenly a blockade arrived.
Essentially, from shore to shore, we encountered our obstacle. The frozen remnants of winter had not released their hold on this part of the lake. The only solution was some bashing.
We finally got to a lake where we did see ice, even though, in reality, we know ice is not out on a lot of lakes still. After paddling all day, it was still kind of this, it felt surprising to come upon ice. It's a new experience, at least for me. And so to figure out ways of trying to get around it, and then getting around it one way, and then 20 minutes later deciding to turn back to go to a different campsite, and all the ice had moved, and trying to get it around in a different way, and then realizing we had to bash through it. I mean, that was a whole new experience for me. And it was so real. It felt both ridiculous and also, of course, this is what we know we're dealing with, but it just also felt like a lot of laughter and joy and adventure and all of that.
The great Royal X Canoe, bending branches, bench half paddle, persevered through ice. Fearlessly we crashed through. Our eyes may have looked timid and weak, but our souls and my angling prowess were determined.
Like little ducklings, the Kevlar canoes followed the Royal X, breaking a wider path to make room for the tandem width. We found our way eventually to that campsite to discover that what appeared to be ideal on the map and in a warmer summer environment was not ideal. With the wind out of the north, it blasted the wide open campsite with its open understory beneath white pines. Not a place available to rest or take shelter from a battering wind.
Trying to have a snack after the long paddle, and chattering teeth and pretending that everything was okay and comfortable while feeling completely uneasy, and not just because I hadn't yet caught a fish or even put a line in the water. For the most part, I did take a few casts actually along the way, but nonetheless, it was a nerve-wracking environment. This is home for the next few days?
Joe and our other angling pals took off in search of the potential spawning grounds of the beloved walleye.
Support for this episode of the podcast comes from Borderland Lodge, inviting listeners to unwind, explore, and create lasting memories against the backdrop of the Boundary Waters. They're offering pet-friendly cabins, lakeside lodge rooms, and cozy weekend dining along the shores of Gunflint Lake. You can find more about Borderland at their website, borderlandlodge.com. Also, check out their Instagram page for some of the incredible Italian pasta meals that Steph is making up at Borderland 2026. We're excited to see what happens up at Borderland Lodge. Busy place all year round. Borderland Lodge on Instagram and Facebook, or their website, borderlandlodge.com. And this episode of the Paddle Portage podcast is brought to you by Sawtooth Outfitters. They're conveniently located on Highway 61 in Tofty. No matter what season, whether it's your first trip or you are an experienced adventurer, they are there to outfit you with the right gear and knowledge to ensure an unforgettable experience. Rentals include, of course, canoes, kayaks, bikes, guided tours as well. Their outdoor gear store is stocked with clothing, gear, maps, souvenirs, have you covered for all of the seasons. So whether you're on the North Shore for a short getaway or an extended trip, stop in and check them out. Otherwise, you can find them at sawtoothoutfitters.com or give Jeff and Sarah and the crew a call at 218-663-7643. Start planning your BWCA or North Shore adventure now. Sawtooth Outfitters. After camp was established, a brief meal was had, a different schedule than we typically do, where we're out and then come back and eat dinner. We had a nice warm meal to put in our bellies after a long day of paddling, and then went fishing. Our first real fishing of the opener, which didn't occur until the evening of Saturday, the 9th of May. As we crossed the northwest arm of Vista Lake, it appeared sunny and calm and gracious and welcoming, only to turn a moment later.
Squalls, snow squalls to be specific, loomed on the horizon, blocking out the sun, dark clouds coming our way. As the wind picked up in the middle of the lake, gusts battered our canoes. My canoe partner, Ty, in the bow, received a hearty gust, knocking our canoe unstable. We wobbled to the right, adjusted back to the left, further than the first, back to the right, as Ty dropped their center of gravity down to the bottom of the canoe. We righted ourselves and continued to paddle, Ty saying, "I don't like this. Can we get to shore quickly?" Knowing that we couldn't turn our canoe crossways into the wind and go directly to shore, we had to remain pointed towards you. Ahead of us, Freddie, taking the diagonal route into the wind for stability. And I said to Ty, "We just got to go slow and steady, take our time, we'll get there." Ty saying in a bit of desperation, "If we go over, we're done for." True words in these conditions. Slowly and steadily we made our way to the North Shore. Some comfort knowing that we're right next to land in case something were to happen. As quickly as we made it to shore, the squall blew over and the sun came out.
After a bit of trolling and just sort of taking a collective sigh, we made it to the end of the bay and circled back around the direction from which we'd come toward camp down the long arm. And it was about halfway, 3/4 of the way down, when suddenly my rod tip bent in the other direction and not in the way of a snag. The first walleye of the 2026 open water season.
Woo! Perfect eater size. And as we've learned, Ty and I pulled a U-turn in our canoe, and as I paddled, set Ty to casting in that same vicinity, where there's one walleye, there could be more.
And indeed there was. Ty landing first BWCA walleye of what could be a storied career of angling in the wilderness. And it was right about that time that the second squall, a much more intense one, arrived.
This is wild! Freddie!
Holy Toledo!
Help me! Freddie!
Oh, man. Wow!
Woo! These are big flakes! With a mix of terror and joy, we welcomed spring, deciding this was now time, as the sun re-emerged post-fury, to troll our way back towards camp, exploring the bays and inlets along the way.
It wasn't long after this that I departed to go fillet the fish, and you and Ty went back to camp, picking up a bit of cold along the way.
Indeed, the beauty of the clear skies took my attention as I slowly paddled our canoe back, Ty taking casts, hoping with so much enthusiasm for one more walleye. We paused to watch a fat beaver butt chomp on some aspen wood, savoring the fact that we're back out here. As we pulled into camp, started to unload the canoe, a realization occurred to me that I'm cold. And quickly, very cold. The snow had saturated a fair amount of my clothing, and my whole body started to shake and shiver uncontrollably. Saying little to my fellow campmates, I made my way quickly under my personal rain fly and started to change as the snow started to fall again. Another one of the squalls of the day and evening. Though I quickly put on multiple dry layers, the shivers continued, and it became apparent to me that it was time for squats, jumping jacks, and getting closer to the fire that my camp pals had made. Knowing that I was safe and had everything that I needed to rewarm, the reality of the season really set into my whole body. This time of year is no joke.
Hey Paddle and Portage listeners, this is Kate from Bending Branches. If you're like us, paddling isn't just something you do, it's part of who you are. And when you're out on the water, your paddle isn't just a tool, it's your connection to the adventure. At Bending Branches, we take that seriously. For over 40 years, we've been handcrafting canoe and kayak paddles right here in northwestern Wisconsin. We obsess over every detail, making them lighter, stronger, and built to last, because we know what it's like to be deep in the wilderness, where every ounce of weight matters and every stroke counts. We test our paddles the best way we know how, by using them, on winding rivers, glassy lakes, and carrying them on backcountry portages. Crafted with tradition, engineered for adventure, designed by paddlers for paddlers. So, before your next trip, stop by your local paddle shop or outfitter and find the Bending Branches paddle that's right for you. Because great adventures start with great gear, and the right paddle makes all the difference.
The fishing opener this year greeted us with ice and snow on day 2 as we proceeded to travel south in pursuit of lake trout. My favorite species of fish to catch in the boundary waters, or anywhere for that matter. It would be a day of challenge, we knew. Snow-covered portages and likely more ice than we encountered on the lake which we were camped, which had just the frozen bay on the south end. So as we reached the first lake, me and my solo out ahead of the group, it was, upon arrival at the new lake, about 70% covered in ice. It did not seem as though we would be able to continue south as we planned to do, where we knew the lake trout were in greater numbers.
Of course, as always, we found a way, exploring the thin channels along the shore where anybody who spends a little time in these lakes in the transition season, the exposed rocks soak up the sun. They create this little extra heat along the edge of the shore, and it's not enough for a canoe, but it's just enough to start squeezing and bashing, which we did.
I think, getting to know the different kinds of ice, and it can still be elusive because sometimes it can be dark, and sometimes I would think that would mean it was almost slush, but sometimes that was like the 2-inch thick stuff. And then the lighter, it was just like getting to know a whole new element. Yeah, and how it moved. And I was grateful we had Freddie the icebreaker in front of us.
The beauty of a Royal X canoe with a basher plate reaffirmed from our pal Mike at Rockwood Lodge on the bow allowed for me to sort of act as one of those ships that you might see in the Duluth area in the early season or late season when the ice is formed, making a pathway for the other ships to travel behind. And it worked well primarily on the shorelines, although occasionally I would venture out a little further just because.
As dangerous as those conditions are, learning to play, to laugh and delight in the joy of breaking ice, which is such a primal feeling, and knowing that is the only way to continue to move through the place. I'd say in the sun, on the water, there's a lot of joy.
She went down to the sea, put her toes in the water, watch the waves roll in, she could feel it. She went up to the hills, walked their shoulders, with the wind to her back, she could feel that heart beat.
Lake trout were found on day 2. Fish were feasted upon over the open flame at a fire grate, seasoned with... what were those things?
Well, knowing that we were going to have a spontaneous lunch of fresh-caught lake trout, I started thinking, what do I have in my thwart bag that could be used as seasoning? And my recent Trader Joe's trip in Santa Fe, New Mexico, yielded a bag of honey sesame almonds that I brought along in the trip. Quickly using 2 large rocks from the hearth of the campfire, I smashed and ground them into the most delicious chunky powder, and as Joe Fredericks laid fillets over a United States Forest Service fire grate, we sprinkled those trout with the most delicious, sweet, savory, homemade, crisp batter, and built a hearth of stones around the lake trout, creating an oven to deliver a delicious midday lunch.
We returned to camp that evening, had yet another fish dinner, fish fry. Settled in at camp, bellies full, legs and arms and bodies tired in the best kind of way. Settled in for a warmer evening. Woke up, discovered that there was significant rainfall and wind in the forecast, and paddled out as a group to return home and find that some of our fishing companion friends from the opener weekend had indeed went into the water. Fortunately, they were near the landing and had a change of clothes and were able to exit safely from the wilderness, weary and tired and frightened, but safe. And LB, it's a thing to make note of that the fishing opener weekend has been a benchmark for some tragedies from the wilderness in recent years. In fact, it's almost become, unfortunately so, a pattern that when we come out of our trips, we've either had our own personal near-death experience or we've heard of others who have passed away in the wilderness or adjacent to. And we're sad to report that once again this year that was the case. A friend of ours, Scott, who owns the Ugly Baby Bait Shop on the Gunflint Trail, mid-Gunflint Trail area, who had just reopened the business on the Friday, the day before the opener, passed away on Monday, May 11th.
You had just visited Scott in the bait shop as they prepared to open for the season. You chatted with him and, in general, added to the celebration of another season of fishing and another season of celebrating the beauty of the Gunflint and all those who visit it. It was a lot of excitement and joy at that place headed into this year.
We have a full story about Scott and the history of the Ugly Baby Bait and Boat Shop at paddleportage.com. But here's some of the audio that was recorded while I was there on the Friday before the fishing opener, talking with Scott. And then in 2007,
Yeah.
you were moving into this building and
Yeah,
painting.
we built this in 6,
Mm-hmm.
and it was ready to go in 7.
And that's when Ham Lake came
That's
through.
when Ham Lake.
Yep. Okay. And so last year you had some health things, and that was the first time you'd been closed. But now you're back. And what else has happened along the way that you want to share that's relevant to your life or the business or your time here?
Well, I'm glad I moved up here. It's been quite the adventure. Otherwise, I was born on the east side of St. Paul.
Mm-hmm.
And lived in White Bear Lake. I was a union laborer for 20-some years, and we always vacationed up here, Trails End,
Okay.
for 20-some years, and we just decided to go do it.
Yeah. Okay. And you raised a family up here then, or what? Your kids were grown?
My oldest daughter was had just graduated high school. She was going to college, and it was the wife and Kia and me. She was 7, and then went to Coconee
Mm-hmm.
school the whole time. And
Yep. And she worked at Trail Center?
Yeah.
Yeah. I met her a few times.
oh yeah. She was wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. How are you doing with that since she passed away?
Not good.
Uh-huh. Doing your best.
I think that's why I got sick.
Yeah.
It wears on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a tough situation.
It is. Yeah, the wife died in 16 and he in 22.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, I'm sure they'd be happy that you're still giving it a go and putting your best foot forward.
yeah, Kia was going to take it over. So it kind of put a wrench in everything, plans that we had made, and you play the cards you're dealt, I guess.
That's
so.
right, yeah. The future now remains unknown for the business. We'll keep people informed as that becomes clear. But a general takeaway that we can think of is whether you're on a canoe trip and the water's cold and there's ice floating around and the water is going to be cold for the foreseeable future. It's still quite cold here in the middle of May, and heading into a popular weekend like Memorial Day weekend, as the BWCA gets busier and busier, need to be mindful of the cold water this year as it's lingering. And for people outside of the wilderness who had health-related situation that led to their passing, as we saw with Scott, or Mark Ham, the man from Duluth who likely suffered a incident with his heart or another health-related incident that took his life on his solo canoe trip this time of year in May, is just to be in a place in life or even physically in a space where you are comfortable, as certainly Mark was when he passed in the Boundary Waters, and Scott inside his beloved bait shop. And take care of the ones you love and be around good people, as we certainly were on our fishing opener trip this year.
Just connecting in all kinds of ways, and good conversation and adventure and problem solving and comforting each other and helping each other get what we need and sharing resources and all of those things.
And lots of eggs.
Lots of eggs to go around.
We look forward to an amazing season ahead. Amazing stories from you, our listeners. Please keep sending them our way. We make this podcast for you and with you. Head on over to paddleandportage.com. Check out what is going on in and around the Boundary Waters and further afield in the paddling community. If you haven't subscribed to Paddle and Portage, this may be a great time to do that. Thanks to our sponsors. And thank you, Joe Fredericks, for being a reliable and safe paddle partner to venture into these cold waters year after year.
Right back at you, LB. It was a great fishing opener trip. Hard to compare them, as they're all so different one year to the next, but I'll tell you, this was a damn good one.
My belly's still full of fried fish. Oh, yeah.
I like to sing, I love to dance. I play the fool if I got the chance. All around the campfire light. All around the campfire light. Got this out of tune old guitar. Not trying to be no star. There's enough of them in a summer's night. Oh, there's enough of them in a summer's night. Well, you can look to Venus, you can look to Mars. I will set my sights by the northern star, and in the deep dark blue come the northern lights. Oh, and in the deep dark blue come the northern lights. Sing when I paddle canoe, feeling, not thinking if the strokes are true. We're gonna get through to the other side. Now, out in the night, the waves beat the shore. You can hear 'em pounding, you can hear 'em roar. Oh, roll me, rock me in my dreams. You can roll me, rock me in my dreams. So I like to sing, I love to dance. I play the fool if I got the chance. All around the campfire light. All around the campfire light. All round, all round, all round the campfire light.